So they asked me to think about what I thought about the game changers, and I want to flip the script a little bit, if you'll allow me to, because I want to pull out a theme that's emerging from the game changers that I think sits at a level that's a little bit above the game changers. And for me, it's about a shift in values orientation. To be very specific, it's about shifting collectively from our almost hyper-focus on achievement to a more balanced focus on also addressing the expansion of opportunity and opportunity gaps. It's game changing because while we need to develop higher quality instructional methods, while we need to improve schools overall, it's only part of the work. It's only part of the work to really nurture well-rounded, high-performing, self-aware, and productive young people. School and instruction are part of it. It's not the entire game. The opportunity gap is also the equity gap. If you're working on opportunity, you're going to be working on disparity and inequity. You've got to get in the mud on that one. So we need to create the kinds of opportunities that provide eye-opening, possibility expanding experiences for young people. We've got to provide opportunities that put them into diverse networks and give them the kinds of exposures that we all had that made a difference in our lives. We've also got to create opportunities that promote family stability, that promote individual and family well-being, and that start to ameliorate the effects of poverty. I think there are a couple of things getting in our way. The first thing is this: there is an ideological conflict about opportunity in our city, in our state, and in our country. The conflict is simply this: in places where disparity and inequity are quite obvious, we are in deep disagreement about whether we should be guaranteeing everybody the kinds of enriching opportunities that make for a meaningful life. We are still having discussions about who deserves opportunity and maybe who doesn't deserve opportunity. That's raging in Boston, in Massachusetts, and across the country. We've got to make some decisions with one another about where we stand on that. Secondly, if you're going to talk about the opportunity gap and the equity gap, we have to go back to some conversations that we don't like to have. We've got to talk about race, class, and power. Those are conversations that we start to squirm a little bit when we have to talk about that. But honestly, that's where the root causes of both the achievement gap and the opportunity gap lie. I don't want to sound overly pessimistic or make this overly challenging, because I think we are getting braver about stepping into the opportunity gap. And so to the extent that our courage is mounting in this space, I think the game changers that you guys named give us a different kind of leverage here to get into the opportunity and equity gaps. And I'll try to tick through this really quickly. Time. Time is opportunity. So Chris's equation, distance equals rate times time.
I didn't invent that, by the way.
No, well, Chris, no, you didn't. You're a smart guy, but I know you're not that smart.
I barely understood it.
So let's revise it a little bit. Distance is rate times opportunity. If time is opportunity, it's the rate at which we're accessing the kinds of growth experiences that we need to have, the types of exposures that we need to have, the step-ups that we need for a productive life. We have an opportunity to really think about how we're going to use time in some very different ways, and to think about all time as whole child time. So what if we did that? I think one of the things that happens is that we start to think about how do we get out of some of the false segmentation between school time, enrichment time, family time, and other compartments that we like to create. And I think we think about some more integrated uses of the time that allow teachers, students, young people, community to bring themselves more fully to the enterprise of learning, to bring themselves more fully to their relationships, and to bring themselves more fully to investing in mutual growth with one another. So very important to rethink time and rethink opportunity in that way. The skills focus is important for us as well because it recognizes two things. One, that there's something more important than simply the things that we're testing for in classrooms that needs to be learned. It makes that a different kind of priority, and it also underscores what I referenced previously. A lot of what happens in the classroom is explained by skills building or the lack of the skills that we are helping young people to build. So we've got to put some focus there. The data piece, and I think what's critical is to start to name and identify those other sorts of indicators that really give us some indication about the degree to which opportunity is opening up or whether it is constricting, and for whom. The for whom matters. If we're going to get to opportunity for all, we need to figure out for whom opportunity is not working or being afforded. We had a similar discussion in Boston over the past year through the school assignment deliberation, where parents and community were saying, okay, we're looking at MCAS as an indicator of school quality and performance, but they kept saying that's not good enough. That's not telling the whole story about what happens in a productive environment and how our kids progress. So we need to widen that data aperture to really tell the story about what opportunity looks like. Lastly, the partnerships piece, and this is a place where I'm pretty passionate because I only think that we get to the system that we want and the outcomes that we want for kids through a kind of viral collusion, where folks just have to, at a very rapid pace, decide we are going to strike agreements with one another, get our friends in the room, and move in the same direction. But leave the door open for everyone else who wants to collaborate. Whole child work is whole community work, so we have to have a viral set of partnerships and connections. In Boston, we're very fortunate that we've got a number of actors who've been in the opportunity and equity gap for a very long time, and I think partnership helps us to amplify that work then. More critically, though, we need these same actors, wherever they are, to now be partnering with the institutions and systems where the structural barriers to opportunity lie, and to start to remove them. And it's not to say that the actors who sit inside of systems and institutions are necessarily gatekeepers, because they're working on it as well, but we need a concerted effort to say the structural barriers to opportunity have to be removed.